We watched WWE Backlash May 6th, 2023. Opens with Bianca Belair versus Iyo Sky in a hell of a wrestling match. First of all, the crowd is the real story of the show more than anything else. It was huge. They were into everything. And in this case, to the expected reaction of or the expectations of nobody involved with the match, they were into booing Bianca Belair and cheering Iyo Sky. And you could tell that Bianca was very, very surprised by this. And you could also tell that she did not care one bit and probably enjoyed it. So they're having this great, great match, and the crowd cheers every.
I actually thought otherwise.
What's that?
I didn't think she was really bothered by it, but you could see by her face when they first started booing that she was surprised.
She's very surprised,
and she couldn't figure out what she'd done wrong.
Yes,
she kind of had that look on her face. She went with it, but it was funny because they had a match planned.
Yes,
and the planned match involved Bianca being a babyface.
Yes,
and fighting from underneath. And having heat put on her and making a babyface comeback. But these fans decided that Iyo was the babyface and Bianca was the heel. And they did the exact same match.
Yes, they did.
They did not change it at all. They did not have Iyo go out there and get heat or do a babyface comeback or anything like that.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah, they just did their match, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing Bianca did wrong was that she wasn't Iyo Sky.
Apparently. Yeah. So the actual wrestling was sensational, and Iyo was working the arm the entire time. There was a point 10 minutes into this thing where Bianca was running wild a bit, and suddenly Iyo from the apron grabs her by the wrist and jumps down and snaps her arm on the rope, which is something you usually see, like something to start the heat in a prelim match. This felt like a finish. I felt like, God damn, Bianca's arm is off. She's done. And then like a minute after that, she takes Iyo out of the corner and does the one-armed press slam, which it's not the first time I've seen this, but usually when I see someone do this, Bandito comes to mind. The person is just showing off. Bianca was selling. Because as she is holding Iyo with her right arm, she's making a pain expression and waving her left arm back and forth, trying to get the feeling back into it, and then dropping Iyo on her face.
I don't think she was supposed to drop Iyo on her face because that face first bump that Iyo took looked like a unplanned face first bump. She just splatted right on her face, and the ref went to check on her.
Yep.
Bianca was supposed to do, I think, the springboard moonsault or the handspring moonsault, and man, she just stood by those ropes and just looked till she got the A-OK that she was alive.
The plan was definitely for Iyo to go to her back. She did not go to her back at all. And it had, like, in midair, decided, I'm not going to her back. And, it could have been worse, but that was not what they had planned. Regardless, it was an amazing, amazing spot.
She had a big matte burn on her forehead. It was brutal.
And no fun. No fun at all.
Gosh.
So they're going back and forth.
Well, it was a one-arm press slam. And so the deal is, when you do a two-arm press slam, when you go to slam them, you can use one of your arms to tuck their head and turn them over.
Sure.
Correct.
But she was only using one arm. And so, really, it was kind of, I don't want to say it was Io's fault that she landed on her face, but, I think that she was supposed to land on her stomach. But I think that when she started to go, she kind of started to go head first, thinking that she was going to be turned over, but she wasn't, and so she just splatted on her face. But one way or the other, that was one of two spots in this match where I thought Iyo Sky was dead, and thankfully in both of them, she ended up alive.
What was the other one?
Well, the other one was they were fighting up top, and Bianca gave her a power bomb off the rope.
Yeah.
And she did. For those of you that have not worked, okay, it is not a natural thing to take a flat back bump, okay? If you're a normal human being and you slip on the ice, your natural reaction is not to land flat on your back. Mm-hmm. It's you put your hand down, you turn, whatever. So you have to learn to bump flat on your back. So when you're wrestling, that is the safest way to land in wrestling is flat on your back.
Right.
Unless you're doing some sort of like Ric Flair and myself, actually. We did a lot of those rolling bumps where we didn't really take a bump.
I see that.
But, so if you're not doing that bullshit bump, a safe flat back bump is the best way to go. So when you are taking a bump, sometimes people, either because of what they're trying to do or because of what the other person does, they land on their ass.
Yeah.
That's the absolute worst way to take a bump, other than like breaking your
Head.
neck or whatever. Because your ass and your tailbone hit, which sucks because all of the impact is on a small area, concentrated on your ass. And then, the rest of your body's also falling. So your head goes, kabam! And bounces off the mat. This was one of the worst ass-first basketball bump I ever saw. I mean, she just smashed her head into the ground. And she still kicked out, and they kept going. But, if we hear in the next couple of days that Iyo's out with a concussion, that's why. That spot right there.
So Damage Control comes out. There is a tug of war with Bianca's ponytail. Bayley's involved right in front of the ref. Match continues. Bayley starts to climb into the ring, so Bianca pulls her in. This leads to a big distraction that lets the captain of Team Kick hit a kick. And Bayley tries to hold... This is the finish. Bianca's down on the mat. Bayley is holding her down by the ponytail, trying to hide this. And if this sounds ridiculous, it is, and so the ref catches her. But in the melee, this lets Bianca recover a bit, and she dodges whatever Iyo was trying, hits the Coyote, and wins. I thought it was a fucking great match.
This match was awesome, and these fans were so into Iyo, and if I would have been in charge of this match, I would have been open to the idea of calling an audible and having Iyo win. Because this was like, they were so into her here. And here's the deal. Because I would not have called an audible and had Rhea Ripley lose, even though the fans were super into Zelina. Because if you look at this storyline, it is very clear that Iyo is going babyface. And it is very clear that they are going to split Iyo away from Bayley. So if you are telling that story, then Iyo going in there and actually winning the women's title here, which causes Bayley to get insanely jealous that Iyo is the one that actually has the championship now, you can continue on with this storyline with that audible here. Now, with Zelina and Rhea, I mean, what are you going to do with Zelina? I mean, she was massively over. It was an awesome night for her, but she's not going to be the women's champion. I don't think that she should win it and immediately lose it back. I would not make a call in that match due to an audible, but I would have in this one. And, of course, one of the reasons they didn't was because if Bianca won this match, she set a new record. And they're all about these stupid records. And the record was more important than anything else. And the problem, to me, is that does anyone not have a record in this company right now? The Usos set the record. Gunther's setting the record. Roman Reigns is setting the record. Bianca Belair now is setting the record. Who am I missing? I mean, everybody's setting a fucking record, so I could give two fucks about any of the particular records. Bianca setting a new record means nothing to me, because everybody's setting a record. So I don't care if she's about to set a record. If the right finish or a good finish or giving these fans something is Iyo Sky going over, they should have had her go over. But, like with Sammy, it's too late. It's done. So, oh well. She'll still be over on Raw.
Fantastic match. Probably the two best women in WWE right now. I mean, how could you not have a great match? And I will say this just because we will probably get heat. If we do not say anything, I will just say Bayley's pants.
You think we would get heat for not mentioning that?
Yeah.
Okay.
100% we would.
All right. Well,
I didn't even notice.
You're got to be kidding.
I was watching the fantastic action in the ring with these two great athletes.
I was watching a fantastic... Never mind.
Bayley exercises a lot and was wearing pants that showed more skin than most pants. This is true. These are both
There
true.
were buckles everywhere, and Tom's trying to find a pair.
Yes. I will contribute if necessary. So I did not watch a lot of the in-between match stuff, but I caught one segment here where they're covering the draft and who's on what show now and all this. So let me get this straight.
Oh, no.
Roman Reigns is so unstoppable that they had to limit him to one show and create a participation trophy championship belt for the other show.
Yes.
Okay. So Roman's on SmackDown, whereas the other belt is for Raw. But SmackDown guys are eligible for the Raw championship. There are SmackDown wrestlers in the tournament
Yes.
to crown the Raw champion.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Now,
Why?
To follow up with that, if a SmackDown guy wins the championship, does he go to Raw?
Yes. SmackDown will lose whoever they put in this tournament that wins.
Why did they have a draft?
This draft is still there. You're missing the point. The stupidity is that if you are the SmackDown GM, you should say, I'm only putting my worst guys in this tournament.
Yes.
Because I don't want anybody to go to the... Yeah, I'm going to put my best guys in and then lose one of them to Raw.
Correct.
It's stupid. The draft is stupid. This whole thing is stupid. The brand split is stupid. The title tournament is stupid. The extra belt is stupid. It's all stupid. And it all started as soon as Vince came back. Because he is stupid.
Omos versus Seth Rollins. So, as you know, the crowd is into everything. That includes Seth Rollins, and in particular, Seth Rollins' theme song.
Ugh.
I was so irritated.
Yes.
It's the same 3 notes, even over and over again. It's like Seven Nation Army, but even worse. So, the good news about this is, as they are singing these same 3 notes over and over again, Omos is actually like playing off them and reacting. And I saw more humanity in the man than I recall ever seeing before.
Dude, I became what they call an Omos sapien, even though you pronounce it Omos. When these fans are singing this fucking shitty song, and Seth is standing there in the middle of the ring with his eyes closed, going like this, and so Omos booted this motherfucker in the head and went to work on him.
As he should have.
Way to go, Omos.
Yes.
Didn't do you a shit's worth of good in the end, but...
Well...
Thank you for ending that song singing shit.
So, as a match, unless you have a superhuman like Brock Lesnar who can throw this giant around, this is about the best you're going to get out of Omos.
This was a legitimate good match.
It was a good,
but it was
match.
all because of Seth Rollins.
Of course.
100%.
As stupid as his fucking gimmick is, he's a great wrestler, and he had a great wrestling match with Omos here.
So the story, of course, is the giant is manhandling his much smaller foe, and he controls most of the match, and every once in a while Seth gets a flurry of offense, but Omos kicks out of everything, usually at 1, and with a great fanfare. He doesn't just kick off, he sends Seth flying into the air with a kickoff. So Seth tries a curb stomp. Omos just doesn't go down. And stands up, hits chokes there for a near fall. So Seth tries a sleeper. Omos powers out of that, gets a side slam. We have Seth hitting a pair of curb stomps finally after kicking MVP somewhere in there. But Omos is still kicking out of 2 of these finishes. And so Seth finally goes up top, hits a top rope curb stomp, and wins. And people were outrageously happy about all this. This was a success.
Well, you got to beat that giant on the way to that second participation trophy championship that Seth is likely going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I would presume that he is now the favorite. And yes, as far as Omos matches go, this probably was his best one ever. The WrestleMania match, I mean, being there in the third row and that fucking crowd for the opener of night 2, I mean, if you just talk about the overall spectacle of being there, then WrestleMania with Brock was his greatest match ever. But if you're taking that out of the equation and just looking at, well, how was the work, this would be the best one. So congratulations to Seth. You got the best match ever out of Omos.
I'm really surprised he's still around. I figured he would have been let go right after Mania, but I guess if you can get a good match out of him every so often in order to boost somebody up, I guess he fits the bill.
Jeffrey has a great question here. Who does Brian hate more? Oreo or Seth Rollins' song? Well, to be honest, I would much rather listen to Seth's song.
Really?
Well, because I can tolerate his song once or twice a week. I could not tolerate that fucking whale in this office once a week.
What if Oreo was singing it?
Now I'm envisioning whale song to the tune of Seth Rollins' theme.
I'd have a new gimmick. Ahab.
Bobby Lashley versus Bronson Reed versus Austin Theory. So we go from a David versus Goliath match to a David versus Goliath match. It's basically 2 monsters slamming each other around, occasionally stopping to slam Austin around. They had every 3-way you ever saw. It was fine. One of the monsters hit a finish. Lashley hit a spear on Bronson Reed. Theory stole the pin, threw Lashley out of the ring, didn't even hit another move, and won. There's a few cool spots in here. The Bronson Reed super kick on the floor, set up a Vader bomb, and Lashley did, I guess you'd call it a spine buster to Theory at one point. It really looked more like a choke slam, only his hand was not on Theory's throat. It was like on his belt buckle. But he pressed him high up over his head and then slammed him down from there. That looked awesome. But yes, it was a three-way that you've seen before.
You know, a forward roll is a pretty easy maneuver to pull off. You roll forward and you come up to your feet.
Can confirm.
But even Vinny, I think, could do a forward roll. Not now.
Back in the day.
But back in the day, he could do a forward roll.
Rolls were forwarded.
But you should see him try and do forward rolls, by the way. Oh, my God. It's a good thing these kids can't break necks. But anyway, so it's easy to do, but it's also very easy to make you look impossibly stupid.
Well.
So Austin Theory, this poor guy, this was not his fault at all. They're going to do some spot, and he's going to do he's going to dive into the ring, kind of like Grayson Waller. And he goes to dive into the ring for a forward roll, and the fucking ref is standing right there. Yep. And so he rolls 90% of the way over, but then his legs run into the ref, and this guy looked so clumsy, trying to struggle to his feet and then he hits whatever move he's going to hit, and then he has to overcompensate. So he has to very violently be pounding on whoever he knocked down after that to try to get people to forget about that forward roll that got botched. But they did the match, and, you know, God bless the guy. I say it every time. I have nothing against Austin Theory, but, dude, every good thing in this match was Lashley or Bronson Reed.
Yep.
And then he stole the pin at the end, and then he walked away with the belt. I'm sure he's on his way to some record, some fucking record, but this title reign is doing nothing for me. Zilch. I have absolutely no interest in it whatsoever. Austin Theory is still just a guy that has matches, and he doesn't stick out. He doesn't come across as like one of the top stars. He's just a guy that to this day still feels like a guy that Vince is going to shove down your throat to try to get over. So I don't know what he's missing. I don't know what the guy can do. They even gave him his name back, but it's just not doing it for me.
My favorite spot of this match, Austin hits a big move on the Almighty. He's laying there, and much like the Coyote getting squished with a boulder, as soon as he kicks out, Bronson Reed jumps from the top rope and just squishes him. The timing was perfect. Bronson Reed squishing him, it looked so good. The timing could not.
Where did you get
better.
Bronson Boulder?
Well, I compared him to the Coyote and the boulder.
I see.
Isn't that one of the guys in Bear Country?
I think it is.
Yeah.
It might be, actually.
Boulder or something like that.
Yeah. Boulder Bronson? I'm not sure. Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega. So we go from Omos being a giant against Rollins to Lashley and Reed being two giants against Theory to Rhea Ripley being a giant against Zelina Vega, and boy was she a giant compared to Zelina Vega. So Zelina, of course, from Queens, but family's Puerto Rican. She comes out literally wearing the flag. Not like draped in it, or like with flag pattern on her gear. Her gear is a giant flag, which I've not seen before. And she's... I can't... Beloved is not a strong enough word. I can't tell you how much she meant to these people to see him here. The match itself was very basic. Rhea Ripley is very big and very good. Zelina Vega is small and not as good. But they didn't screw anything up, and they didn't overshoot their target. They didn't set their goals too high. They just had a very basic match. The highlights were things like Zelina threatening her with her mother's flip-flop, which Cole made a subtle reference to the child-rearing habits of the Puerto Rican mother.
Chancla.
Yeah.
When little children are bad, Mom brings out the chancla.
You don't get the rolling pin or the belt. You get that thing.
That's what happened to Dominic. Gotcha.
Yes, exactly. So, Cole is going over the list of great Puerto Rican female wrestlers, including La Tigresa. And Corey Graves, totally deadpan. I knew you were a big fan of La Tigresa. Cole smirks. Amazing Red, also name dropped during this match. So, it's all just Rhea woman handling her for a bit. Some host spots mixed in here and there. Riptide. Rhea tries Riptide. It's turned into a DDT and a 619 and a Meteor for 2. And that was Zelina's moment, and that was it. Rhea kicks her, hits the Riptide, and wins.
This was a very, very anticlimactic finish, quite frankly,
Well.
because Zelina, this was like, the Von Erichs. She was so impossibly over here. She's crying before the match starts. She's crying after the match is over. The crowd just all of a sudden all gets to their feet to give her this massive standing ovation afterwards. She's just a puddle of tears. It was absolutely amazing. But the match itself, there was nothing wrong with the match. But what's interesting about this match is this is the story that they told going in. Zelina almost never wrestled, and when she did, she usually did not win. And so one day she went up to Adam Pearce and she said, you know what? There is a pay-per-view coming up in Puerto Rico. I'm the only Puerto Rican woman on this roster. I believe that I should get the shot against Rhea Ripley. And he said, well, I will take that into consideration. And then later we just find out the match is made. So I guess he took it into consideration. So that's how they announced the match. And then between that announcement and the actual match, she had, I think, one match which she won. And literally the story was, she ain't going to win. Okay? I just want everyone to know, this is pretty much what the announcer said. Listen, it's not impossible, okay? She could win, but it is exceedingly unlikely. That's the story they told. And then they do the match, and they had that one spot. But there was no spot where when the fans watched it, they were like, my God, she's actually going to beat Rhea Ripley. They did I think it went 7 minutes, Dave said. It felt like 4. But it was just a very simple match. She got beat up a lot. She got a short comeback, and then she just got hit with a move and pinned. And I know some people were really angry about this, but she got her moment. I mean, she came out and got that reaction. She came out and got the massive standing ovation afterwards. She got the championship match here on this show. But what they did is in storyline exactly what should have happened. So I didn't have a problem with it. I was very happy for her for what she did get. But, the story that they told going in, they did not insult our intelligence for 1 second. Because if they would have tried to push this as Zelina's going to go in there and beat Rhea Ripley, she's got her number, it would have been impossible to suspend your disbelief. So the best they could do, which is what they did, is say, there's almost no chance of it happening, but you know what? It could happen. Great. So I thought this whole thing was great, start to finish.
I have a bad habit. If I see somebody get emotional, I have empathy for them, and then I start getting emotional as well.
That's true. Craig is a very empathetic man.
Yes.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm a mess watching this.
Yeah.
And then Rhea Ripley grabs a hold of her and power bombs her straight to hell. She power bombed her so hard. If you go back and watch, one of Rhea Ripley's gauges in her ears actually falls out and rolls upon the mat.
Impressive.
It's unbelievable how powerful this woman is, and she just destroyed her with this power bomb. Anyway, so that made me also empathetic for her.
Well, I can only imagine how you felt during the post-match then.
Yeah.
Because we haven't gotten to this yet. And
Yeah.
the good news for Zelina, she survived all this. And as I noted, the crowd was beyond beloved with her, or she was beyond beloved by the fans, and she got a massive standing ovation. They're chanting for her and singing for her, and she's standing there weeping as her family's in the front row. This was fantastic. This is awesome to see.
It's awesome.
Awesome stuff. Our 4th straight giant versus small person match, or smaller person anyway. Damian Priest versus Bad Bunny. Also the best. I'll clarify that, the best of these
That's fair.
size mismatches. But there was a common theme I noticed throughout the show, which is these matches have a same basic story. So it's Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest. Priest, he's been very good for a long time. Since he was Punishment Martinez, he's been very, very good. And he is also Puerto Rican. We were told here, I believe, they grew up in the same neighborhood. But Bad Bunny is, when Zelina came out, I thought to myself, I'm not sure it's possible for these people to love anyone more than they do Zelina Vega. I was wrong, and I was going to be wrong even more by the end of this match. Mm-hmm. So they had a really good street fight. It was mostly kendo sticks and chairs and trash cans and more sticks and more chairs and a dive here and there, and they're doing some crowd brawling. And Bad Bunny, I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this, he's very successful in his chosen line of work and doesn't need to be doing this. And he's there in this stadium in the middle of Puerto Rico, or in the middle of the stadium in Puerto Rico, and they're fighting up by the lighting rig. And I was expecting some kind of like special effect gimmick, like just he would disappear behind the thing and pyro would go off and they pretend he got blown up or something. No, Damian Priest climbed up this big giant crate and lifted Bad Bunny high over his head, and they both flew the air through a table with a big ass falcon arrow. Good God, this guy! Now I will say this thing went a long ass time.
Yeah,
a long ass time, and Priest demanded the match continue after the falcon arrow through the table, dragged him back to the ring. His kick hits the post, and they're going back and forth for a long time. Priest's selling of this leg, I will add, is also great. He's begging Bunny to wait, and Bunny is not waiting. He's wrapping his leg around the post and whacking it with a chair and all this stuff. So Judgment Day hits the ring. It's a street fight, of course, so that's fine. And Rey Mysterio tries to save, but he is soon overwhelmed. We need a hero. We need a hero who is brave and reliable, and most of all, a hero who is cool.
He's got to be strong. He's got to be,
cool, Craig. Cool. That's the point I was making. Yeah,
got to be larger than life.
They played the first bit of Carlito's music, which I had forgotten. It's been a long time since I listened to Carlito's music, but it's just one of those wooden things with the ridges. You rub the stick over it, it goes. Brrrt. They played that.
I actually needed a moment because when they played the first portion of that song, I was like, I know this song.
Yes.
But who the fuck's music? I forget who this is.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, it played a little bit more, and I went, oh, holy shit. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I was never the biggest fan of old Carlito.
Let me write that down.
Mostly because of his gimmick, which was bullshit. His gimmick was that he was a guy who did not like guys that did not like to be cool.
Right.
And he ate an apple. I don't like guys that don't like to be
I spit in the faces of people who don't like to be cool.
Yes. And the thing I think that annoyed me the most about this character, and I digress here, is that he's a very, very charismatic fella.
Sure.
And they gave him the most one-dimensional, stupid fucking gimmick. And not only that, it was like, very quickly he was over it. And he was just so lazy, which of course led to one of the greatest moments in the history of Raw.
100%.
When they unleashed Ric Flair upon Carlito in a backstage segment. And he fucking eviscerated this guy. But anyway, here we are, a decade, 15 years later. They play that fucking music in Puerto Rico. And the building began to melt. It literally began to melt. The walls started to just ooze cement down to the ground. As fucking Carlito showed up to make the save for Rey Mysterio.
So I was not in Puerto Rico. I cannot confirm to any melting walls. What I can tell you is that thousands of miles away in North Bend, Washington, the soundbar to my television set began to smoke and spark. It may have been glowing. I'm not sure. The point is, everyone, I'm trying to remember the last time I saw anyone in any field, in any venue, in any place, get a reaction like Carlito got to come out here and save Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico. So he does the basic stuff. He's still a big dude, and he lays these guys out, hits the backstabber, spat apple at somebody, and then so Finn and Dominic tried to flee, but out comes Savio Vega, and he's seen better days, and Finn Balor is openly laughing at him. But he's not alone. The rest of the Latino World Order is also here. So there's this big giant melee, and Savio gets his hands on Finn. And I've heard a lot of "you still got it" chants. I don't know if that's the right thing to say here, but I thoroughly enjoyed his very wacky chops. And he did,
oh my God, they were incredible.
And he did do the wacky, or not the wacky, the arm wringer.
He should manage the Chop and Roll Express.
Oh, hey. Fair. Yes. Yeah. and he socks them to the back. So we're like 20-plus minutes in by this point. The match is still going, and we're not that close to a finish.
Felt longer, to be honest.
I thought this match was a half hour when it was all said and done. Like
could have been an hour.
25.
Didn't feel a minute longer than it needed to be. Except for one.
I do disagree.
Well, there was
same.
when Sabio first came out. For some reason, I don't know what he was waiting for or what they were waiting for. But man, he stood there in the aisle and he stared at Finn Balor and I think it was Finn and Dominic. He just stared at these fuckers for like an hour, and I was like, "What are we waiting for? Somebody do something!" And finally, Finn goes running, and he got all chopped and kicked. And then Dominic got all chopped and kicked. And, man, they were going crazy for this guy, chopping and kicking these blokes. And it was great. These run-ins were unbelievably awesome.
Oh, how that... I like Bad Bunny, and I like Damian Priest, but the cameos were the highlight of this by miles and miles and miles. So the match is still going. Priest is still out there working on one leg. Bunny hooks the figure 4, which is the finish of many guys, including, of course, Carlos Colon, which the announcers did not note. But he's making running wild. He tries to slice bread number 2. Basically dropped himself on his own head.
Oh, fuck. I thought he was dead.
That was significantly scarier than anything Iyo Sky did, or frankly, anything anyone else on the show did. He seems to be alive, as far as I can tell. And he whacks the bad leg with a chair many, many times, hits a destroyer, and wins. Like, this is really, really, really good. It would have been better 5 minutes shorter.
Fuck it, Vinny. It was perfect. What I liked about the match a lot was it was Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. Bad Bunny sings songs or something.
He's a bard.
I don't know what this fella does. But Damian Priest, I know what he does. He's a wrestler.
Yeah.
Okay? So you had a celebrity coming in facing a wrestler in a street fight. And when you say those words, celebrities coming in to face a wrestler, who, by the way, is not like some nothing-happening little guy. It's fucking Damian Priest, a big, giant dude. How does Bad Bunny beat Damian Priest and make it be in any way believable? Well, the way they worked this match was Damian Priest had him beaten a minute in. Bad Bunny hit him with a Michinoku driver. Priest kicked out at 1. Grabbed this guy, hit him with South of Heaven. 1, 2. He pulls him up at 2. He could have squashed this celebrity, but he didn't. He made a mistake. So then they keep doing their match and everything like that. And what happens? Well, Damian Priest. There's only one man who can hurt Damian Priest, and it's Damian Priest. He throws that kick, and he is the one who kicked the post and broke his own leg. So now he's on one wheel. He's injured himself after being cocky earlier, and now he's an injured man. The bad guys try to come in, and all the babyface show up, and they run all those guys off. And then, of course, Damian Priest is injured. His leg gives out. And now, Bad Bunny's got the advantage here. He hits him with a bunch of chair shots and everything like that. Destroyer and pins him. I thought if you're going to beat Damian Priest and not do it in a way where, all the other guys run in and they beat him. If Bad Bunny's the one who was going to beat Damian Priest, this was the way to do it. You gave Damian Priest an out 1 minute in, and then the big key moment in the match where he got injured and was unable to recover was something he did to himself. So I thought the booking of this match was just absolutely fantastic, start to finish. This was a wild success. Way better than I would have imagined. And this was going to be a tag. It was going to be, I think it was going to be...
Ray Jr. and...
I think Ray and
Ray
Bad Bunny
versus Finn and Priest.
I think it was probably going to be Priest and Dom.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, it's going to be a tag. And so when they announced that it was a single, I was like, well... they can do the smoke and mirrors. It'll be pretty good, but I'm surprised it's a single. This was, miles better than I expected, miles better than it had any right to be. A lot of times I try and come up with ideas. What would I have done here? Dude, I couldn't have come up with anything half as good as what they did. This was absolutely great and made the show.
I agree with Vinny. It could have been 5 to 7 minutes shorter. It would have been a lot better. But after Priest kicks the post, they roll inside. He goes to throw another kick. Bad Bunny catches his leg. He puts his foot on top of his shoulder, and he drops to his knees.
Yeah.
And that is when Damian Priest realized, I'm screwed. He grabbed his leg. He was selling his leg. And then his face said, panic. He was panicked. He didn't know what to do. I know Brian in the past week has said that he would never, if he had a promotion, he would never let anybody sell their leg. It worked. It worked way better than it should have. And I cannot say that this was a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. This was a success.
We also got the Usos and Solo Sikoa versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Matt Riddle. So my first takeaway from this actually involves Riddle's gear. I mean,
oh my gosh!
He's always wrestled barefoot with no knee pads, which is unusual. But he had the trunks that go like a couple inches down the leg, not quite mid thigh, but the Billy Gunn length trunks. So they're bigger than most guys. So he's now got like these standard wrestler trunks with no knee pads and bare feet.
Yes,
he is the most naked wrestler I think since Kevin Von Erich, and even Kevin Von Erich at least wore wrist tape. So it was a lot of Matt Riddle being seen here.
And it's not even that; it's that the trunks are very snug.
Well, they are very snug, and he also exercises a lot, much like Bailey. So they make fashion choices that you and I may not make, Greg.
That's fair.
All right, this is all far more interesting than anything that happened in this match.
Thank you.
I am so sick of this bloodline bullshit. Just if you're gonna break up. This had to have gone 30 minutes. It probably could have gone 10. It's just there's a bunch of hot tags that aren't that hot. There's a point here where Sammy gets, I believe, the third hot tag of the match. He jumps in the ring. I think he did a Michinoku driver. He had one move and made a cover, and the guy kicked out, and he just sits there. And sits there. And sits there. I'm like, this is a rotten hot tag. This is a cold, cold tag. This is where I started begging for them to take it home, and they were not close to the finish. Kept on going and going. The story is that Solo, despite being the younger brother of the Usos, is not trusting to get stuff done. He's going to take care of himself. He keeps blind tagging himself in, much to their consternation. And finally, Jay blind tags himself again, and now they are bickering, and they're going back and forth, and I'm over it all. And there's a point where Solo is conflicted about whether or not he's hit the spike on Jay. And he's thinking about it, and thinking about it, and thinking about it, and suddenly breaks it up. And they just keep on going. And Riddle hit the Bro Derek. Solo tagged himself in again and won what I wrote here was the longest match I ever saw in my life.
Well, Vinny, you're not watching these shows, so you don't know what's going on. The story here is that Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns are tight. And Roman Reigns is sick of these Usos because they lost the tag team titles. He has not spoken to them since WrestleMania. And Paul Heyman has repeatedly alerted Solo Sikoa that the time is coming. And Solo's taping up that thumb. So they're teasing that at some point soon, Solo is going to have enough of these guys, and Roman is going to have enough of these guys, that he is going to kill them both, and they will be removed from the bloodline. So the entire match, from start to finish, was all about the story that Solo is sick of having to do all of this himself because these two geeks keep screwing everything up. And in fact, early on, they're bumbling around, and he has to tag himself in and take care of business. And then later in the match, he has to once again tag himself in and take out these dudes because the Usos can't do anything. And then they get to that big moment where he accidentally grabs Jay, and he's going to thumb him, and Jay starts screaming at him. They get in an argument. It's broken up, and then they do the blind tag. And once again, Solo has to get in the ring and finish the job, and he hits Riddle with the big thumb for the pin. I do not disagree that this needs to be wrapped up soon. They've been teasing this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. They've even said on the show, tonight's the night, as the bait and switch when tonight doesn't end up being tonight. I've heard tonight's the night 80 times. It's time to get this thing moving. The storyline is so much about the Usos and Solo Sikoa that, I mean, there's Kevin Owens, Riddle, and Zayn are just there. And they told us prior to this show that after this night, everyone's on separate brands. So you go into this show thinking, well, it doesn't really, I mean, either the Usos are going to break up or whatever. The story's over. Then they start coming to the ring and they announce, well, they're the undisputed tag team champions, so they can go from brand to brand. even though Roman is the undisputed heavyweight champion and he cannot go brand to brand, and they have to make a new belt because he's so dominant. These guys can go brand to brand now because this thing is stupid. And so now it's like, all right, well, now what? Can we get something going here? The pinnacle of this storyline was them winning the tag titles at WrestleMania. It was a great moment. It was a great finish to that part of the story. Yeah. It was an awesome match, but the follow-up is just dragging. So I thought the match was really good, but it's time to get going on this thing.
Who would have known a guy named Solo would be all about himself? Anyway, I did not like this match. It was just there. And can Kevin Owens please stop taking that bump on the steps? That looks absolutely brutal. He's going to kill himself.
I hope he does not. We also watched the main event. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. So I'm watching Brock. Manhandle is not a strong enough term. The way he threw this grown-ass man hither and yon with ease.
He threw this poor guy around so much that this was a crowd that did not dislike Cody. This was not like the opening match with Iyo Sky where they decided they liked Iyo so they didn't like Bianca. They liked Cody, but they really liked Brock.
Yeah.
And they chanted Suplex City, and they were so happy. But man, this guy beat this guy within an inch of his life so long and so viciously that finally these fans cannot help themselves but go, "Let's go, Cody!" Like, come on, you poor guy. So he got him by dying.
Yes. There's a book about that, I've heard. So I'm watching Brock throw this guy around, and I'm thinking, man, I've been watching him be a physical freak for 20 years now. You sometimes take it for granted. And I thought about it. He's been a physical freak, well, for a lot longer than that, but I've seen him be a physical freak for 20 years. He's 45 years old.
Yeah.
He is not a spring chicken. He's not slowing down. Neither are the men he's throwing. They're getting faster. He's gaining velocity on that fastball with his suplexes and follow-away slams. He's a marvel. He's an absolute marvel. Now, a turnbuckle gets exposure. I don't want to gloss over this because this is like the best turnbuckle exposure. There's a Hall of Fame turnbuckle exposure. Cody's like in the corner, and Brock goes to give him one of his suplexes to the sky, and Brock grabs him by the waist, and he throws Cody like 4 stories up. But Cody has yanked off the turnbuckle, and at the peak of his arc, he throws the turnbuckle pad another 15 stories up.
Yes.
Everyone in Puerto Rico, whether inside this building or not, knew that turnbuckle was exposed.
But not only that, I mean, he threw the turnbuckle high into the air, and some fan caught it.
Yeah.
And then security showed up, and they said, "Give us that turnbuckle back." And boy, was that guy! He's lucky he got out alive.
The crowd was booing like crazy at the security trying to get their property back.
So, I mean, he did throw into the crowd.
Yeah.
So, to make a long story short, Brock tries to throw Cody in the exposed deal, but Cody counters, and it was a drop toe hold, I think, that sent Brock face first in the exposed deal. And Brock comes up bleeding. Now,
instantly.
I watched this like 5 times or more. Because what happens is his face is the steel, and then he immediately goes like this and plants his forehead on the back of his hand. And I thought, did he have like a blade on the back of his glove? That's something I haven't seen before. And I watched this, and no, what happened was Brock Lesnar's, beyond being a physical marvel, is a lunatic, a complete freak who decided to bust himself open hard way by throwing his face right here between the eyeballs into the exposed steel and yanking on it to tear it open. Good God Almighty!
Maybe they put a gig on. They put a rig on the turnbuckle.
Brother, he just headbutted that buckle like a wild man.
He
busted
did.
himself open, bleeding like a stuck pig, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And the cameras did not pull back. The referee did not immediately go get gloves. There was gratuitous juice on WWE TV.
There was
in all its glory.
Tons of blood. Tons and tons and tons of blood. So Cody has this is one chance. He goes for a bunch of disaster kicks, a bunch of crossroads, and he can't. And Brock kicks out. And Brock pops up, hits the F5, but Cody kicks out. So Brock goes to the Kimura. And as Cody is in the hold, he pops his hips up, stacks Brock, gets a very quick sneaky pin 3 count. The ref counts 3. Brock lets go. Cody runs for his life.
As he should.
I don't blame him. Now, if you watch the whole program, they did like the music video package to wrap it up, and then they re-aired this finish without the commentator track. So you just heard the arena noises, and Cody stacks him up and is shouting at the top of his lungs, "Go, go, 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 go!" He wants that ref to count, and they get the hell out of there. I didn't know if they changed plans because of the blood, because there was a lot of blood, but it felt weird. It felt weird. It kind of, I don't know if anticlimactic was the right word, but Cody's got his ass beat for no reason by Brock Lesnar, and his revenge is to get his ass beat a second time. Brock makes himself bleed, much like Damian Priest did earlier, and Cody's arm is about to be yanked out of his socket when he is able to use a little bit of leverage, catch the man unawares, get a sneaky pin, and flee. It's not the best revenge I ever saw.
Well, it was not really about a revenge, dude. It was about surviving.
That's
because
fair.
he had to get past Brock to get back into contention for a title that's on the other brand.
But he did not feel like he got past him. He feels like he escaped him.
He did. He got past him, though. You ever played like Donkey Kong? It doesn't matter how you get to the princess, brother. You got her.
I see.
Yeah. You're fucking jumping over a barrel. That's how you get a princess. You leap over a fucking barrel. He pulled it out. But it was a great match.
Yeah, I thought the match was great. And just to go back, I'm really happy that they let the blood be there. Not because I'm bloodthirsty, but it's just
I don't know if they let it be there, dude. I think that referee was probably told to, like, because you could see at one point he had a towel, and he just could not bring himself to go near Brock with that towel. He just put that towel down and was like, I'll take the fine.
I know, but they also didn't pull the camera back. They didn't try to hide it. It was just there.
Well, Brock is a special guy, and I think everybody
really
involved knew that he's going to find out who did whatever, and they're going to be in big fucking trouble. So they were like, just go home or something. Get out of there.
Anyway, it looked way more natural than for Cody to take a timeout, and they towel the guy off, and here comes the medical staff, and let's put Vaseline on it, and you know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessary. Just let it be.
So in conclusion, I would say this was a really good show. But if you had ended with Zelina and then Bad Bunny in the top 2 matches instead of putting in the middle of the show, I think it would have been a lot better.
Well, they want to get over what they want to get over, but I don't think there's anybody who would say that they should not have ended the show with Bad Bunny. Although, you do risk the fact that this crowd was so hot that you could see, especially in the tag match, they were tired after that Bad Bunny match. I think they would have had it in them to do the exact same, or at least close to the same reactions if it had gone on at the very end of the show. But in a vacuum, watching the match as it was, that would have been an awesome finish to this pay-per-view. But they wanted to do that Cody Brock thing last, so that's what they did.
Who would have guessed that the Bloodline and that 6-man would have been the quote-unquote cool-down match? It
was certainly cool down.
Gosh.
Well, if you watch it, they actually don't do the cool-down match anymore. They haven't done that since Triple H took over.
Well, this match effectively cooled the crowd down.
Instead, they largely do like a bunch of fucking video packages to just get you tired that way.
That's a fact.
Which
that's
thankfully
fair.
they did not do on this show. The last couple of shows, WrestleMania was like that too, except for I think they did do a long something, but it was before the Roman match, there was like a long period of absolutely jack shit happening. But aside from that, WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2, I mean, they didn't do that, It used to be that, like, after a match, I could fucking go downstairs and make food for the kids. And by the time I got back up, the match hadn't started yet. Now I go down for a couple of minutes, and the match has already started when I get back. So that's a huge improvement from what they used to do. So that was a show, everybody. And, yes, Vinny, what do we got Tuesday?
Brian, Tuesday in the Brian and Vinny and Craig and Sean show, and Granny and whoever else happens to